Hello and welcome to RedMate. Today we're talking about the Man of the Match award. Now this might seem like a bit of an odd or niche little area of football, but that's a big intention I really wanted to do on this channel, was to talk about the small little parts of football that just go on without us really paying too much attention to them, and really wanted to explore what it is, what it means, and maybe to the viewers who don't necessarily watch much football or just new to it and trying to get into it a little bit more. Hopefully this might explain what it is and maybe people can offer their comments on it as well. But I wanted to talk about the award itself and maybe who deserves it at the end of the game. I feel like I've heard little comments recently within football from the pundits, from other fans and YouTubers and whoever around people receiving the award and maybe them disagreeing with that. So I'll give an example of it because I kind of can see both sides, and I really wanted to explore maybe what it means as well. So we obviously saw probably what I'd say is the goal of the season recently with Garnacho scoring the overhead kick against Everton, and believe in that game were a 3-0 victory for them, by which he scored the first goal. He got the Man of the Match award. Now obviously scoring that goal, he may get a lot of trophies and awards later down the end of the season when they start handing out awards for best goal. I think that one's going to be very tough to beat. However, scoring that goal alone, does that necessarily mean he's the man of the match? And quite similarly, we saw Trent Alexander-Arnold score a late equaliser against Man City when Liverpool played them, and he got awarded man of the match as well. So, for a Liverpool fan watching that game, did Trent have his best game? Was he vital to the team in that game? Obviously, he scored the goal, but, does that qualify him getting man of the match? Now, I can obviously understand people saying, yes, he should, because, he saved Liverpool a point. But what does it really mean to be the man of the match? For me, if you just hear the term, you might think it's maybe the most memorable person, or maybe someone who was very, very critical to that game. However, I always think about, the player as a whole over the 90 minutes or however long they play. Did they have their best game? But at the same time, there's maybe 3 ways you could look at it. Obviously, a player who gets subbed on in the 90th minute and scores the winner, should he be man of the match? There's kind of a question for it. He's obviously would have played very little time in the game, but if he's the person who gets them over the line, scores the winning goal, I feel like he's definitely got an argument for it, because whenever you look back at that game, obviously you're going to be looking at the goal, you're going to associate him with the game. It's a fair argument to make, but at the same time, does that kind of undermine everything else that's gone on in the game? And, in any 1-0 game in the whole of football, should the goal scorer be winning the award? In any game, should the goal scorers all be the ones eligible for it, and not necessarily a goalkeeper or a defender who's doing their job just as well, but maybe not claiming the same headlines? So that argument in itself is maybe just one element of it, and I can definitely understand it, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to accept it. But thinking about it, I guess the other options are, should the best player on the pitch get the award, almost automatically? I don't think that's maybe correct, although, Messi, every time he plays a game, should he already get man of the match at the end because he was the best player on the pitch, regardless of whether he scores or not, whether he wins or loses? That probably doesn't sound right either, and we don't see that happening. You don't see Kevin De Bruyne winning it every time he plays for Man City, even though he's the best player on the pitch. That obviously makes sense as well. And at the same time, you think about a team where obviously there's maybe a different level of quality amongst the team in terms of players, and if a player's ability is a certain level and they had a good game considering their normal standards, does that mean they're man of the match? Are they in with a shout if normally they're a right back and they've scored a goal? Obviously that's what we saw Trent do, but is that enough to really warrant the award? I guess at the end of the day, they are making a big impact on the game, but when I started to think a little bit more and more about it, it seems a little bit odd to award them the Man of the Match trophy or prize, whatever it is, just based on scoring a goal. Because I think, like I said, any 1-0 game or a 2-0 game or a 2-1, does the winning goal scorer get automatic man of the match? So what does it necessarily mean? There's a number of different ways you can look at it. I kind of am on the side of the goal scorer getting it, or maybe at least the person with the most impact on the game. But at the end of the day, it's a game of football. The goal is to score a goal. If you score a goal, that kind of seems to me to trump everything. You might have a guy who's completed all his passes, made some very important tackles and, run the most distance out of all the players covered and all that. But if a guy does come on last minute and he scores a winning goal, he's definitely got an argument in terms of impact on the game. And, you know, I did just look it up myself in terms of the Man of Match award. I can read out the definition right now in terms of who deserves it and, you know, what the definition of player of the match is. And it literally says, the Man of the Match title is usually awarded to the player whose contribution is seen as the most critical in winning the game. So again, the example I raised of a guy coming on late, playing only a matter of minutes, might only need to play 30 seconds in order to score a goal and come on and get the winner. Does that guy deserve Man of the Match? It doesn't really feel right to me to give that guy a Man of the Match, but at the same time, maybe I'm just got this mentality of it needs to be like a black and white rule. You know, whoever plays the best in that game, does he deserve Man of the Match? Because I would argue, you know, the average player who's had a really good game, it might still not have eclipsed the best player on the pitch having an average game. Because, you know, if you see, you know, it's hard to use, you know, if Man City are playing against Bournemouth and, you know, one of the Bournemouth players, let's just pick a random one, you know, Dom Solanke, if he has a really great game, you know, is his game going to be better than Kevin De Bruyne having a normal game? It's really hard to say. I mean, I've not picked the greatest position comparison there. Maybe I could have chosen Billing or whoever, but you get my point where it kind of feels a little bit odd to, you know, if a player is almost being rewarded for not being as good then, you know, you definitely see it at a lower level where, I guess in a Sunday League team, there's going to be even bigger differences between players within the team. And if, you know, your best player in the team has an average game, they might not quite get the same applause that, you know, probably one of your more average players or maybe even a player towards the bottom in terms of ability. If he has a really good game by his own standards, all of a sudden there's plenty of plaudits there saying they had a great game and Man of the Match and all this. So it is very unique, the kind of mindset that everyone has and puts towards this award and how they remember the game. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people criticising, and, you know, myself included in that, where you see Trent getting a Man of the Match just because he scored the equaliser late, and you think, oh, you know, watching that as a Liverpool fan, I don't think he had the best game, but definitely his impact on the game in getting the equalising goal is massive. When we look back on that game in a few years' time, you think, oh yeah, Trent got the late equaliser. You know, does that mean he's Man of the Match? I really don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of a strange thought to kind of have, but I just like to be one of those guys with a kind of locked in definition, a real black and white answer for things. And obviously it's great to have the discussion, but when you hear people saying, oh, he doesn't deserve it, and the same again with Garnacho scoring this amazing goal, does he deserve Man of the Match because of that incredible achievement? I feel they're two very separate things. Man of the Match kind of feels like a really big award for someone who's had a massive impact on the whole of the game. So it almost feels like it needs to be a starting player at the very least, or if someone comes off the bench, you know, 60th minute, if they played half an hour, 20 minutes, they need to do a serious amount of work and have a massive impact. Scoring a hat-trick is obviously massive. We saw Nunez get the brace against Newcastle really late to win the game. It was 10 men against 11, so you think, you know, there's that as well. But, you know, like I said already many times now, in the extreme scenario of one person coming off, getting a late goal, is that enough to claim Man of the Match award? I probably don't think so. So it maybe lies somewhere in the middle, but it's really hard to kind of understand what it means. And it's kind of funny when the people giving out the award potentially have that different definition as well to a lot of the fans sitting at home watching it thinking, you know, I would give this player the Man of the Match. And again, that's probably one of the great things about football. It's full of opinions. It creates an area and a space to discuss these things. And, you know, there's so many talking points after any game of football, and that's what makes it so great. But that award itself always seems just a little bit funny to me, and I've just heard a lot about it lately in terms of the games that we've seen in the Premier League, and I just want to kind of raise it here and see what some people's thoughts are on that too, because for me, I've kind of always had second thoughts about it and thought, you know, who truly deserves this based on the game as a whole and their impact? Because in a game of football, the goal is to score a goal, and the guy scoring the one goal on a 1-0 win, I don't think as a blanket rule he always deserves the Man of the Match award, but, you know, that's just me. But yeah, that's my thoughts on today's topic. Man of the Match, a little bit unique, but definitely let me know your thoughts. If you enjoyed the content, definitely give the video a like, and please hit the subscribe button as well. We're trying to build that subscriber base up as much as we can. But anyways, that's been all from me today. I've been Ant, this has been Red Mate. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.